Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event. Fight fans worldwide, you've tuned into the #1 undisputed boxing podcast today. This is the Boxing Breakdown. Now, your heavy-handed, hard-hitting host, Mark Roxy.
What's up? And welcome to another edition of the Boxing Breakdown. I am your host, Mark Roxy, with my partner in crime, Mr. Harold Hunt. What's up?
Hey, what's up? How you doing, man? Good to do this again.
Yes. It's always good to do it with you, Harold. It's a pleasure to be with you. Here we are on a Sunday night, and man, oh Shevitz. We had a great weekend of boxing, and there's a lot. Actually, it's been a great 2 weeks, and there's lots to catch up on. And I know that a lot of the other podcasts they've done stuff on the happenings of 2 weeks ago, but I thought maybe for our listeners that are just tuning in and maybe they didn't catch what happened in the last 2 weeks, I wonder if you just give us a quick little rundown of what happened in the last not this weekend but the week before.
Well, the week before was pretty good, Mark. As you know, we're in a little lull right now because it was so exciting during that time. We just kind of got spoiled, if you will, and we had one set of fights this week. We did have a great fight out of Japan that I thought was just wonderful, and Taraji was a champion in Japan at I think it was 135, and he was upset by Sandoval, who went over to Japan, and he won the fight. And this was a national thing in Japan. It came on early in the morning on DAZN, and it was a great fight. But that just happened this past Wednesday. But before that, we had the situation with Usyk and our next gentleman over there, the boy. So
what happened? Tell us what happened. Tell us what went down.
Well, in my opinion, it was a tactical fight, but I really think because Dubois had hit him low previously, or it maybe was low or whatever, he was too conscious of going to the body. And then the referee was very conscious of him going to the body. So part of his game plan was that you go to the body, but he didn't want to because he wanted to be disqualified, this, that, and the other. And when he did land a clean punch to Usyk's body in the same area, Usyk became animated. Everyone started having a little anticipation. So he just abandoned it. And he went ahead and lost the fight, got knocked out.
What?
I simply feel like he just didn't want to put his punches together. He was too worried about going low, and he just mentally was taken out of his game. And Usyk is very well schooled. Now, Mark, you're a trainer, and I know you know what I saw just on my side, but what I saw is the foot battle was lost, period.
Yeah.
The outside foot was kept in place by Usyk totally. Right. Every movement that the boy made was into the power of Usyk. Constantly, he didn't even see or understand, or I guess he did, but he let himself be just railroaded right into that power lane, and that's one reason what I saw. Mark, what did you see in that simple part of the footwork? And then you can please expound on what you saw other than Usyk doing combinations, and Dubois just was a one-punch guy, and he was in the wrong position the whole night. What you got, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Usyk, I did have Usyk winning the fight going into the fight, before the fight. Only because, Usyk is a really complicated fighter to fight. And um, and even though I said that, I also noticed, like, when he was sparring, when he was doing his lead up to the fight, I did feel that Usyk, he was flaring a little bit on his elbows. His hands didn't seem to be as good as they have been in previous fights. That was just my observation about what he was doing. I didn't feel like he was bending his knees. There's a lot of things he wasn't doing in the lead up to the fight. However, when he fought, I thought he did a great job. And to your point, the battle of getting the foot position correct, if you can't get your feet there, it's very, very difficult to get your punches there, right? So getting your feet in the right position was clearly, both of the gentlemen, Usyk and Duarte, both of them, were trying to battle for that. But Usyk obviously prevailed. The combination punching. I don't even think Usyk saw the shot that landed that put him out. I don't think he saw the shot. So it was a pretty straight
You
up
mean
fight.
Dubois?
Yeah, Dubois. It was a pretty straight up fight. I mean, there wasn't anything that was, to me, was spectacular in the fight. I thought it was a good fight. And of course, going in, I thought that Usyk would win, and he did. So, that was my take on that fight.
It was one punch at a time.
Yeah.
It was one punch at a time coming from Dubois. That's all I saw. I didn't see any combinations. I didn't see any follow up. I saw one punch at a time, one punch at a time. Now, he's been criticized saying that he quit again, that he just gave up again. I didn't necessarily see that. Maybe some people would see it like that. I just saw that he knew that, he didn't have anything else there, and that he would be, knocked out pretty badly because he was just not seeing anything coming. And he just preserved himself for the next day. I didn't see him quitting. I just see him realizing, I can't push that train over.
Well, who was talking about? I mean, tell me about this thing about the naysayers saying that Dubois quit. I mean, he got hit. Well, he got leveled. I mean, he got leveled. He got smashed and leveled.
Supposedly, he looked over at his corner and gave them the go ahead that he was done. Now, there is a scuttlebutt that he had this massive party before the fight.
He did.
Usually,
he did.
Mark, Mark, you know how that usually goes. You're supposed to have the party after. You don't go to the party, even if it may be a pre-party. You still don't go. You always go after. Yeah. So supposedly he went to the party before the fight, and mentally he kind of relaxed, if you will, because it was a foregone conclusion in his mind and his fans' mind, of course, that he was going to win. And that could have caused him some kind of letdown, maybe. It's just a protocol calls for no parties before a fight. Now, Mark, you've been with world-class fighters your whole life. Have you ever seen a pre-fight party cause a problem?
Well, first of all, I've never seen a pre-fight party. That's just not something that I, personally, I wouldn't condone a pre-fight party. I mean, if I got a boxer that's doing a pre-fight party, I got a big problem. In my view, I just don't see how that meshes up with the lifestyle. Like I don't see how Dubois could do that, maintain focus. But listen, man, everybody's got their way of doing it. That's the one interesting thing about boxing. There are no absolutes, right? There are no absolutes in boxing, and I always say that. And to coin my partners, Dwayne also says, there's just no absolutes in boxing, and we're like, dang, you see crazy stuff all the time, and certainly, having a pre-fight party is a relatively, maybe just a bad decision, maybe one of those bad choices. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that, Harold.
So you roll all that into it, pre-fight, after the fight. Supposedly he gave in the single punching the foot situation, as
Yeah.
I see it from my side of the fence, being a judge, as we both are.
Ooh.
I know when I see that foot on the outside, I expect a headbutts. I expect this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And I see whoever keeps that position, has opportunity to be successful, whether they do or not. But that is something. And when I see a fighter who's able to corral his opponent to go that way, no matter what is happening in the round,
Right.
round after round after round, that is impressive to me.
Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, and just, Dubois he went down twice, right, Harold? He went down twice in that fight.
So I don't know where he goes next. He's still going to be ranked in the top 10. He still got the win over AJ.
Yeah.
He was a titleist for some time. Great payday. He's got a lot of fights ahead of him. If we can get over the fact that he may have quit. Mark, did you think he quit?
No, I didn't think he quit. I just think he got leveled. I think he got leveled, and it's the Mike Tyson famous quote. Everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face. When you get punched in the face like that, and you're not sure, you see three people. Look, fighters fight, and they also, many of them know when it's time to just stay down, and I think he got leveled, man. And it was the best thing for him to do. I don't think he quit. I think I mean, it's easy to say the fighter quit, and I think I guess it was Chris Gisora, that guy, he's the one that started that thing about, Dubois quitting. So I mean, if that's
So
yeah, go ahead. So I mean, of course he says that.
So if that's the case, I still see him getting some good fights. I enjoy his work right there. It's just that he didn't know how to handle a rematch with Usyk at all.
Yeah.
And Usyk, as you said, he wasn't his sharpest, but he didn't really have to be because in my mind, he already had, the mental advantage over it. And as I said previously, the world was watching for the body punches, so he didn't want to really engage in that. And the ref was just waiting for anything that appeared to be low. And Usyk had his trunks around his neck, as far as I'm concerned. So it was
Okay.
all, lined up for, to take that away from Duval.
Yeah. So, I mean, in any case, where do you think Usyk goes next? What's next?
Well, as of now, there's, he's been ordered to fight Parker.
Right.
One of the sanctioned bodies has ordered that.
Okay.
So I guess he'll fight Parker, and I guess whatever MD mandatory comes along, he'll do that unless he decides to retire. So right now he's lined up for Parker, and that's where we are right now. So they're starting the negotiations and they're looking for a venue or how that works. But I expect him to, handle, maybe 2 or 3 fights of Mandel, and then I don't know where he's going to go from there because I don't see anyone really beating him.
Yeah, I mean, you don't think he'll retire? Because I mean, there's been a lot of talk about him retiring.
I don't know. I mean, he hasn't been beat up at all. He hasn't really been hurt at all. He is he's looking really good. He's beating these guys, he's taking them out. He's not a knockout artist, but he's won his last 2 by knockout. I know this one, but previous, so he's looking pretty good. So if Parker needs his shot, so be it.
Wow.
With him.
Crazy stuff. So how about this? I know the folks that are listening to the Boxing Breakdown. How about the Tim Tszyu fight? How about the fight with
Yes,
Tim Tszyu
that
versus Sebastian Fundura?
yes. A lot of people, Mark, are saying that Tim was so ill-advised. His first fight with Fundora,
Hmm.
he came back and had a really rough fight against a gentleman out of Russia. I did that fight, not his fight. I did the fight right before it,
Yeah.
live, and
Okay.
I got to sit ringside and watch that fight.
Wow.
And what I saw was Tim was out of it from the very first round. He was out of it with the I can't pronounce his name, from Russia, who's undefeated. He beat him down. Now, the scuttlebutt is, I know scuttlebutt. Tim Tszyu's father had been estranged from him, and he hadn't expected to see his father for, they didn't talk.
Right.
All of a sudden, the father shows up in Orlando the day of the fight or something like that. They haven't even spoken. And
Wow.
now he's got to, understand that his father, who's a famous guy, whatever, they didn't speak, and all of a sudden he's here at his fight,
Right.
unannounced.
Are you
So
talk?
then
Are
he had a
you
little pressure there.
just to go back to the person you were talking about? Was it Bakaram
Yes,
Murtazalevich?
yes,
That
yes,
guy in
yes, yes,
Orlando?
yes. I did
Oh,
that fight. I did that, all those fights, but I didn't do that
wow.
title fight. But I did the other ones, and I was there, as I said. But that was a lot, and he figured he could just walk through this gentleman, and he really got beat up badly.
Yeah.
He got knocked out. I saw it early, it was done. I was like, my gosh.
Yeah.
Then he turns right around and fights a gentleman who really doesn't have anything for him at all, and he got a false sense of completeness, or
He fought
he
Joseph
rebounded.
Parker. Joseph Parker,
Right.
right? Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And boom, he goes right back to Fundora, which is a bad idea.
Bad
And
idea.
as you can see, that's what happened. So they're saying he's shot. He's been knocked out twice.
Yeah.
They're saying he's shot, that he went too far, too fast. He
Mm.
tried to do something he shouldn't have done. Now, Mark, what do you think about that second Fundora fight versus the first Fundora fight?
Well,
How did Tim?
I think Harold, it's a great question. I think Fundura just had his number. I think Fundura understood what what Tim Tszyu was going to come back with. They already knew what Tim Tszyu wanted to do. So, and I think for Tim Tszyu is probably just like, let me get back in here and try to do what I did, only do it better, right? Because didn't he get a split decision loss?
Yes,
It was a split
yes.
decision in the first fight. I think the score. Yeah, I'm looking at it here. The scores were Tim Chatham 116 to 112, David Sutherland 113 to 115, and Steve Weisfeld 112 to 116, all for Fundura. That was the first fight, and that was at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. And I believe it was. It was in March 30th, 2024. But that's for the listeners, And then this last fight was just on July 19th, 2025. Again, Harold speaking about Sebastian Fundura dominating, and again he beats Tim Tszyu in the seventh round. He basically he just dominated the guy, and Tszyu was down in round one as well.
He has already shown that his chin may be suspect,
Yeah.
because he got checked in previous fights. Fundora, however, did add to his game in my eyes, because he fought long. Usually he fights, in close. That's where he likes to work, not taking advantage of his height and reach.
Yeah.
But for the first 3 rounds, from what I saw, Mark, he actually used it. He used that reach. He used that jab. He used that natural ability. His natural attributes of height and reach. And then he went ahead and did what he usually does: get inside and slug it out. But uh, at least he sees how that can help him in the future. So as he continues to move or what have you, he's tall enough to actually go all the way up to what light heavyweight. I mean, he's got the frame if his body type can take that kind of weight. But having that jab is going to be something that he's going to need as he moves up in weight. If he stays where he is,
Yeah.
he can pound people out with the inside work, Mark. But I want to ask you this, Mark. Does that inside work translate as he goes up, or will he have to develop that jab and use that reach?
When you say he, who are you speaking about?
Sebastian Fundora.
Oh yeah, there's no question about it that Sebastian Fundora, he's an anomaly. I mean, he really is. He's a great fighter, and I marvel at the way he fights on the inside, being such a tall fighter. It's just it's impeccable. It's really fun to watch. His sister's also a consummate. She's outstanding. She's an outstanding female fighter. But as far as he's concerned, yeah, he wants to use that jab because I mean, to your point, I think that the more Fundora fights, okay, he's got 23 fights into this thing, right? He's 23-1 with one draw. So 23 wins, one loss, and one draw. He's got 15 wins by KO, and he's lost one time by KO. And the one KO that he lost, just so you know, that was against Brian Mendoza. And that was back in 2023, in like March or April I think it was April of 2023. And he lost that fight. And in that fight, Harold, it's the jab. He couldn't keep the reach. He shouldn't be getting caught with shots like that, especially KO shots, right? And that speaks to being able to pop that jab. I certainly think a guy of his height and his stature, if he had a Larry Holmes jab, oh my gosh, this guy would be unstoppable. I mean, he'd be unstoppable. He's stoppable, as you can tell, because he's already got one loss by KO in the 7th round by Brian Mendoza. So, I mean, he is beatable. And if he can get that jab to work better and he can use that jab and the distance off the jab, I think he's going to be a hard person to beat, because when you do get to him, he punishes you anyway. The thing is he should have another 20 fights and put him at 43-1-1, right? And if he wants to fight that long, then that would be very prudent, right? Wouldn't you think?
I would think so. But when he did lose that fight, he had a simple fundamental. He pulled straight back and he had his head on the line and chin sitting right up high. Yeah. So he's corrected that since that knockout. He no longer puts himself in a position to get hit like that. Once you get hit like that, from what I can tell, that either you learn from it or you continue to do it. He does not do it any further. I've watched his subsequent fights since that knockout. Yeah. He does not put himself in a position like that. He doesn't go back straight out. He doesn't have that chin up. He got that thing tucked, and he's moving to the left or the right when somebody's coming at him. He's not going straight back, and he got his head off the line all the time. Even though he's tall, even though they can't get to that line, he has disciplined himself where his head is now on the line. So right. I don't see him getting hit with that kind of punch anymore.
Right. No, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. I don't think he didn't learn. I just think that that's something that they're going to have to keep working on as he steps up and as they put other fighters in front of him. He's just going to have to come up with a little bit more than what he's got. That's my only saying. And I think the jab is key because, you shouldn't be able to hit him. You shouldn't. He's so low. He's 6'5", Harold. He's not 6. He's not. I don't know how can I say this. So he's a super welterweight, right? So as a super welterweight at 6'5", most of the other super welterweights or welterweights are not 6'5". They're not that tall. I mean, there are some out there, but most of them, I mean, there aren't that many 6'5" fighters, especially in that division. I mean, you could go through look at everybody. There aren't that many guys that have that kind of reach. And on top of having a reach, Harold, he's also a southpaw, right? So I mean, combine those two things, southpaw and reach. You know, he's got an 80-inch reach. He's 6'5.5". My gosh.
Jordan was 6'6".
That's what I'm saying. I mean, that's what I'm saying. He's like a half an inch shorter than Michael Jordan.
So, with that said, Mark, we know that he has a possibility of moving up in weight, being successful if he incorporates that jab, which he only did for 3 rounds, and he went and banged it out and took him out.
Right.
But I see him being a prominent fighter in the next couple of divisions if he uses that, if he incorporates that jab on a regular basis, because there's going to be some fights at the higher levels or bigger people he's going to need to win on points or power boxing, not taking them out, not slugging with them, because you got a whole different world when you move up. So but I do like his progression. I'm looking forward to what he does. I did speak with his sister at a convention recently.
Oh wow!
And
she's outstanding.
She's outstanding, and I think I said this already, but I asked her. I said, I think you're the mean one of the two. She said, yes, I am a little harder and meaner than my brother. And I was like, okay, I can see that. And she smiled, and I smiled, and I got out of her way. So I look forward to both of their careers.
Yeah, ditto. I mean, there's more to come. I mean, these are great. Both of them are great fighters. And by the way, Fundura's KO ratio is over 60%, above average, way above average. The average welterweight, super welterweight. So the Towering Inferno, more to come, man. Let's move on. Let's get into this if we can. First of all, just really quickly to acknowledge our listeners. If you are listening to Boxing Breakdown, thank you for being with us. Thank you for watching on YouTube and tuning in on Facebook. And wherever you get your podcasts, we appreciate you, locking in the Boxing Breakdown, sharing it. Thank you so much for doing that. And don't forget to hit us on Instagram and Facebook. You can find us on both of those platforms, and just kind of, if you want to watch the shows, go back and rewatch the shows. They're there. Spotify has quite a collection of all of the Boxing Breakdown episodes. And if you have a favorite episode, we'd love to know. Just put it in the chat. Let us know what your favorite episode is of the Boxing Breakdown. I have mine, but I'd like to know what yours is. Okay, so let's talk about Pacquiao and Barrios, because that fight happened over a week ago. We're late to the party, brother. We are late to the party, but newsworthy nevertheless, because both of these guys are outstanding boxers. And, Pacquiao. Well, I mean, where do we start, Harold?
Well, it's been a week or two now. I think it's a week or 2 weeks now. So the fall has kind of smoothed itself out. And what you're seeing here is the world feels like Barrios was the weakest link anyway, period. He was a weak link. And Pacquiao came out to get his belt because he knew that, the other champions may be something he couldn't do. So he felt like he could do this. The fight itself, I was surprised that Pacquiao was still fluid. I say he's about maybe 75% of himself, and it was still entertaining. He didn't seem as if he was struggling with anything in particular, but he had Barrios in front of him. Now, Barrios got his belt. If you go through all the lineage and all that, it was gifted. I mean, he didn't really earn it, and he didn't show anything. And he's never been a fighter that I appreciate in the ring. The outer ring, he's great. He's outstable. He speaks well, and he's got some good losses to some, he's lost to Tank, and then he lost to Thurman. But after that, he's been okay. So for me, Pacquiao's going to come back. He's going to keep fighting. If Pacquiao loses, he'll be forgiven because he's already retired. So if he loses another fight coming out, he's not going to be dragged like that. He'll actually get another fight. But I just don't see me wanting to watch him. I don't see the public wanting to watch him if he loses another fight. But who they're going to match him up with, I just don't see it. I have no anticipation of him doing anything to attract me. Mark, what do you think about him continuing to fight?
Well, I have to say, I didn't expect Pacquiao. I didn't expect Pacquiao to fight and look as good as he did, to be honest. After his last outing, he had a fight back in 2021, and that fight was against Ugas, right? Your Dennis Ugas, and he lost to a unanimous decision in that fight. And after that fight, I didn't think that he would really want to come back. I just didn't think that. I thought that was it for him. He had a couple of other fights after the Ugas fight. He fought it's the Mario Barrios fight. But prior to that, he fought Keith Thurman, Adrian Broner, Matisse, Jeff Horn, Vargas, Timothy Bradley, Floyd Mayweather, Chris Algieri, Timothy Bradley again. I mean, his resume, Harold, is just unbelievable. And actually, he's 62 wins with 39 wins coming by way of KO, 8 losses. 3 of those losses came by way of knockout, one of which is the storied famous knockout by Juan Manuel Marquez, the overhand right, or the right hand that just put him down and really questioned whether he was even going to get back up. It was a very scary knockout. And I mean, I've just seen this guy is someone who understands entertainment. He understands the value of giving the fans what they want. And then I was just blown away that this guy who debuted in January 22nd of 1995, Harold.
At what weight?
1995. His pro debut, excuse me, was at 106 pounds, Harold. 106 pounds, straw weight, all the way up to 147, right? I think, 5 division world champion?
Yes, he's an 8 division world champion.
8, come on. He's a guy, folks, Pacquiao is an 8 division world champion. Unbelievable. I mean, I was just blown away at how well he did against the young Barrios. And no, to your point, Harold, Barrios is not, he's not Tank Davis, right? He's not he's not at the top of the game, really, right? He's a great fighter, but he's just not that top echelon
tier.
He's just not, he's not up there with Boots, these guys who are on their way to stardom, right? He's kind of like, he's a gatekeeper and he's there. And to be honest, I think this draw that he got against Barrios, which I kind of felt he won. I could see an argument that Pacquiao won that fight. And I would love to see Pacquiao step back in the ring with Floyd Mayweather. I'd love to see that fight. I'd love to see these guys come back, run it back, and I know Pacquiao would love to see them run it back. What do you think about that?
Well, I believe Pacquiao wakes up in the middle of the night screaming at the top of his lungs.
Yeah.
I got to get Floyd. I got to top Floyd. How can I possibly top Floyd?
Yeah.
And eighth division world champion is not enough. Being president of a country is not enough. Money is not enough. He, in his soul, his thing is to top Floyd. And Floyd is not going to give him that satisfaction.
No.
Floyd's not coming out of retirement.
No.
No way, no how. You can offer him a small country with airports and commerce,
Right.
and he's
Right.
not going to do that because he knows that his legacy is intact, and he knows he's boiling Pacquiao's uh, uh, his brain every night, and all the fans around the world. Floyd will never do that, period. So
Mhm.
Pacquiao has so many other options. He can fight other people, bring him out of retirement. He can
Right.
possibly fight so many young guns, which I don't think he will do. But all of that is something that he can decide to do. He's got the cachet to do it. He looked
Yeah.
good enough to sell the tickets. But as far as he and Floyd, I don't I don't see that happening whatsoever. Floyd
Right.
hasn't even entertained such information. He doesn't even speak on that because we know, that Floyd is not looking for that. So, but Pacquiao, he can be viable. I just don't see him fighting a real champion and actually winning. Uh, and I don't want to see a beat down fight. I don't want to see a beat down fight. And
Yeah.
because of who he is, the rest will let it go, man. And that's not good. So
Well, that's a good point, Harold. You bring up some. I mean, I can hear your concern for Manny Pacquiao, and he is, he is 46 years old. I mean, look, the executioner Bernard Hopkins fought till he was in his 50s, right? So
he was active.
yeah,
He continued to stay active. I see him now, and he's a pillar of health. I mean,
yeah,
he looks good in his suits. I sit next to him, and sometimes when we're
yeah,
eating food at them little banquets or whatever,
right.
he doesn't eat. He doesn't eat none of that stuff. I mean, you guys know how banquet food is. The dinners and all that.
Yeah.
He doesn't do that. When I see him around the place, he's eating this or that, and he's extremely healthy. But he always had, he was active. So that's why I think he had the longevity. He was active. So I don't. Pacquiao's not necessarily active. But another thing I want to throw in, he didn't want to come fight unless he lost his election, unless he couldn't get his seat back. If he couldn't get his seat back in the Philippines, then he would fight, which he did. He didn't get his seat back, and he announced he would come back to fight.
Yeah.
So he's looking for other adulation, and the only adulation that he remembers that was extremely successful for him was the boxing. So that's what he did. But his story is fantastic, isn't it, Mark?
Oh,
He came from dirt. I mean,
It's a
dirt
movie.
floors.
It's a movie.
And to actually supplying neighborhoods in the Philippines.
Yeah. No, I mean it's literally it's so inspiring, I mean, you got guys even now though. You got guys like Ryan Garcia, Ryan Garcia, Rolly Ramiro. They're all like, okay, we'll take Pacquiao. We'll fight Pacquiao, right? I think it could be a mistake, especially for Garcia after his last performance out. I mean, I don't see. I think Pacquiao beats him, and I think that's kind
I
of
don't. No, not at all. Not
you
at
don't
all.
think he'll beat Ryan Garcia?
No, I don't. I
Wow.
think he'll come in there and does, but age is still a factor. Father Time always wins.
I just
That left hook comes out in defense from Ryan and offense. It comes out when he's scared, and it comes out when he's aggressive.
Yeah.
And Pacquiao could easily get hit with that left hook while Ryan is scared on his back foot, afraid that he could lose or he's losing the round. That left hook could come out and land. And we know Pacquiao attacks, and when he gets knocked out, what happened? His very first loss, I don't remember who the fighter was early in his career. He was attacking, he got knocked out. Marquez, he was attacking when he got knocked out. The fights that he has lost in the eyes of the judges, he was attacking. He's going to attack Ryan, and Ryan's going to throw that left hook out there,
So,
and it's going to land. And
so
I think when it lands, he'll lose.
Harold, you're talking about Rustico Toricampo, right? Who he fought in 1996, in February of 1996, meaning Manny Pacquiao fought Rustico Toricampo, and he lost, right?
So if you go back and look at that footage, you see Pacquiao's coming, and he gets hit.
Yeah.
He's coming, and he gets hit. It's not like he's got hurt and he's staggering around and the guy just takes his time and beats him. And no, that doesn't happen. He gets hit because he's attacking. He always attacks. So I just see Ryan clipping him.
Yeah, I get that. I'm not refuting that. I think your evaluation of that. Yeah, no, it's a great evaluation and it makes a lot of sense. I wonder what the listeners think. I wonder what Pacquiao thinks,
Age wins.
Yeah. Father Time is undefeated, isn't he? Yeah. So let's move it on. Let's go on to Bam Rodriguez. You got something about Bam Rodriguez, huh?
Well, yeah, Bam, he always looks good. Bam is on a collision course with Inoue. So I don't really want to go. I mean, I want to go into it. If the fight was watched, we saw how Bam kind of cornered the guy. The guy really didn't have. He had good work, but he had his back to the ropes most of the time in the corners. He was trying to counterpunch or whatever, and Bam is relentless with his work. So, and he really wasn't pushed at all. Yeah. Now we know Bam had signed to fight a couple Japanese fighters or something like that, and they said, "Nope, not yet. We don't want him now because we could possibly lose it." So he's on a collision course with Inoue. Now, if you look at him versus Inoue, just briefly, I don't want to go too far into it.
Yeah, we can break that down later.
I think Bam has a good chance only because of his chin. He's got a great chin. And he's relentless. I like his work inside the ring. I like his work outside the ring. He speaks well and what have you. So he's like an octopus, man. He's coming from every angle constantly, and he's got good defense as well.
Harold, Inoue's got a big fight coming up with Akhmadaliev. He's got a big fight coming up. I believe that fight is September of this year, and he's fighting him in Japan at the IG Arena in Nagano, right? And anyway, so
it's a walkover.
Yeah, well, I mean, most fighters that are going to fight Inoue will be a walkover because Inoue is that good. I mean, he has a nickname, the Monster, and there's a reason why he has that name. This guy is probably pound for pound. I don't know where he is in the rankings.
He's two or three. Yeah. He's 2 or 3 as we go forward. But I will say this about him: he's got a chin.
Yeah.
We talk about the offensive prowess, but he's got a chin.
Yeah. Well, BoxRec's got him listed as number 1. I mean, BoxRec isn't an official ranking, but BoxRec's got him at number 1, and it'll be very, very interesting to see,
But Bam is the only one that when you look at it, you feel like he has an opportunity to win. Everyone else, we feel like it's a matter of time, this, that, and the other. But Bam, you feel like, he could possibly win this. And I wouldn't be surprised if he did, just because of the relentless type work he does. And he can will wither you out as Inoue does to his opponents.
Yeah. No, I definitely can see that as a very viable possibility. I mean, but again, Inoue is something to be reckoned with, and I'm not sure how long he'll be able to hold his title. But for the interim, he's I don't see anybody in the foreseeable future that's going to be able to beat him. I think Akhmadaliev, I don't know if I said his name correctly, but you know, that should be an interesting fight, and it's just another opportunity for a guy like Bam to study him and to see, where the holes are in his technique,
In a way, crushes souls. I've seen him crush. I mean, crush these guys' souls. I mean, you lose a fight, but he just crushes you. He just takes. You're never the same after you fight him, just because he just takes it out of you.
Hey,
I mean,
Harold. He only didn't take two people's souls. There was a guy named Antonio Nieves that he didn't KO. And then there's another guy named David Carmona who he also didn't KO. That went to distance, 12 rounds, distance. But all the other fighters are either TKOs or KOs, or it's quite impressive, man. He's got, out of the 30 wins, he's got 27 KOs. Dang, 27.
But they're brutal KOs. Those are not the kind of KOs where you're counted out or, the ref decides. No, it's this kind where 10 count is over your head and you don't get up. That's devastating. And those two decision wins he had, he beat those guys up. Those guys were hanging on for dear life the last 3 rounds of both of those fights. Not that he didn't know how to finish them, but those two were able to do it. But they really took a beating. So if you want to go back and watch the catalog of Inoue, fans out there, go back and watch those 2 fights that he didn't knock the guy out, and you'll see that they should have went ahead and took the knockout instead of taking that beating, because he put beatings on both of those guys. So in my mind, he's knocked out everybody, but technically no, 2 he has not. Right. I appreciate him, but Bam is the only one that may have an opportunity to, who could possibly beat him.
Yeah, Xander Zayas. What about this guy? Let's talk about Xander Zayas.
Man, this dude was signed at 16 years old by Bob. Bob loved him, but Bob matched him so nicely. 16 to 22. How many years is that, Mark? 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So he was able to really keep him in line. He got the money a lot earlier, and they guided him perfectly. Mark, if you want to say that he was matched perfectly, I would say, what do you think about his progression from 16 to the championship at 22 years of age?
Well, I mean, if they're with Top Rank, then chances are the promotion is definitely going to do a great job with the fighter, right? Xander Zayas is from Puerto Rico, right? This is just a little background for those of you tuning in. He's from San Juan, Puerto Rico, and he is 5'10", reaches 74 inches. He's ranked number 1 in PR and ranked number 3 in the world. His record is 22 wins, 0 losses, 13 wins coming by way of KO. So that's roughly about a 58%, something like that. 58, I think, 58% KO ratio. And, he's turned professional in October of 2019. And he's just fought, all the way. And they've moved him very, very carefully, and I'm actually gonna just take a moment and look at what they did here. Yeah, I mean they put him in against mediocre opposition and for his first 6 or 7 fights, and then they stepped him up, and he's fought some pretty good guys, and at this point, since he's been with Top Rank, they've just moved him very efficiently, and his last fight was against Jorge Garcia Perez, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and it was at
Madison
Square Garden, right? Referee was Eric Dolly. What's up, Eric Dolly? Shout out. And the scores for that fight were 116 to 112, 118 to 110, and 119 to 109, all in favor of Xander Zayas. So he went 12 rounds, and he won the WBO World Super Welterweight, the vacant welterweight title, the Super Welterweight title. So
Now-
yeah,
So to me, Bob Arum simply wanted to recreate Tito. So when Tito was no longer the Puerto Rican star, he put together the other Puerto Rican star, and we know who that is, Cotto. And when Cotto ran his run, he needed another one. So he manufactured this guy, and he's put him in the position where he is that Tito, that Cotto of that continent there. And Xander has been well schooled to take that mantle. Now, he's got to defend that thing, and we've got to see who they're going to feed him for
Right.
him to keep it.
Exactly.
And that's what's interesting to me, because I'm not saying he was spoon-fed, but, they fed him something, and now he's there, and he has to stay there. So I'm interested in who he's going to fight next, Mark. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, as a junior middleweight, I don't know who he's gonna fight. I know that there's some significant talent there. Virgil Ortiz is there, right? Sebastian Fundura is there. Eric Lubin, Keith Thurman. Well, Keith Thurman is not really. So I mean, there's some good talent. Erickson Lubin. Serhil Bohachuk is there. Bakram Murtazalev is there, who's training out of Oxnard, California. He's ranked number 2. Virgil Ortiz is ranked number 1 right now. He's there. He's got the stuff. 23-0 with 21 big wins coming by way of KO. So it looks like, from what we're looking at here, it looks like Zayas and Ortiz are on a collision course.
He won't fight none of those guys the next 3 years. That's not happening. That's not happening. That's not happening.
Why?
They got to ride that belt with him. They're going to give him top 10s. They're going to avoid unifications. All of that.
Tell the listeners why. Tell the listeners why they're not going to do that.
Because my opinion is they need to get what they can out of him being a Puerto Rican star, which is dividends around the world. You always got to have a Puerto Rican star, and you always got to have a Mexican star in that weight division and around that weight division.
Right.
They've got to keep him in line for that. They're going to be sure that he fights credible people, but he's not going to unify. No time. No time. They'll put a fight away. They'll do this or do that, but he's not unifying with none of those guys. They're going to let them fight themselves out. He just got that belt. He's got to hold it for at least 2 years, 2 to 3 years before they throw him in there. He's 22, Mark. So he'll be 25, and then he can take a really big shot. But meanwhile, he'll defend that belt several times with credible opponents, but no one that's just really going to take it from him. He can fight on his island. He can fight in New York. I mean, Bob Arum has his Tito. He has his Cotto, and he's not going to sacrifice him.
Right. Well, all I can say is it's going to be very interesting to watch what happens. To watch what happens to him and how they move him. Pay close attention to that. Because there's more to come out of Xander Zayas for sure. And congratulations on your win. And
yes.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great win. And so let's push on. Let's get into this Regis Prograis against oh my gosh, against Joseph DIaz.
You told me to watch that fight, and I started watching some of it, and I saw that it was a really great fight, and at the end of it, I didn't get to see all of it, but what I did see was at the end, Prograis said if I didn't win this fight, I would retire, what have you, and he was in there with his young son, in the ring with him, and I could just see that, in my mind, there's a possibility that Progress didn't want to lose, but he
Right.
would have liked to have to kind of um, be put to pasture, not from his own doing. So in my mind, and I'm just somebody who's just looking at from the outside in, I don't know nothing. I'm just talking, running my mouth. I'm not saying he wanted to lose, but if he lost, he would have gladly went ahead. Okay, that's it. But now he's won, and the expectations are back, and now he's got to find a next fight to do, and now he's got to get back into that mental thing. I know he's been doing it all of his life, but I really think that he wants to kind of just be done with it. Now, if he retires now, that's fine. But the world's going to want to see it because he has one of the fights of the year. That was a great fight. He got rocked in the second round. He came back. It was back and forth and back and forth. I mean, now he has to have another fight. He has to do it. So it's kind of a not double-edged sword, but it's, eggs in one hand and the basket, whatever that cliche is. I kind of see it on his face. But he put on a good fight. But you want to remind me of, Mark, and I'm gonna let you go with it. It reminds me of when two fighters are so their skill levels have deteriorated to the point where they could actually put on a wonderful fight. And the only one that I could use to add to that, to as a reference, is Frazier and Ali. That both of those guys were just at the end, not at the end, but they were able to really work with each other and produce a good fight. And that's what I saw with the Prograis and DIaz fight.
Well, I would point to the one right behind me here. I don't know if you can see the fight, but Mickey Ward and Turo Gotti, very, very similar fight, kind of blood and guts, full all action fight. Last night I did not expect, personally, Harold, I didn't expect that Joseph Diaz would have performed as well as he did. I honestly didn't know what to expect. And I thought that Regis Prograis would just pick him apart because, he has a beautiful jab. There was a speed differential. There's a boxing IQ that Prograis possesses that allows him to kind of navigate through pretty tough opponents and come out on top. And I thought that that's kind of what I would see. But actually, the fight was outstanding. It was Regis Prograis couldn't help himself to want to get in there and exchange with a very willing Joseph Diaz, who was eating almost everything. He was eating jabs, he was eating 1-2 combinations, 1-2-3s, 1-2-3 body. He was eating pretty much everything on the way in to get his work, and it made for what I would say, if you're Prograis, a very predictable fight. A very predictable fight. He knew how to run his hands at certain places, meaning Prograis. And I thought that Joseph Diaz just weathered the storm, brought the heat. He literally made the fight. And I was just so impressed by the fight in general. And, Prograis came out and said, quote, that he was only buzzed one time in the fight and that he had it under control the rest. But I think the commentators and, for those of us that know boxing, I don't think Prograis' legs were right. And when he watches that back, he'll see what I mean. I just don't think that his legs, he ever found himself after he got touched up with that hook, the double hook that Diaz landed in the fight. Yeah,
it seemed to me about round 7, his legs were back though, Mark. I thought he was stable on his legs, and when he engaged and he took some back punches from Diaz, that he sustained.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. I think as soon as he got touched up the first time, I think he jumped up, he cleared his head, he finished the round, he came back and he sharpened up. He came back to the jab. I'm sure the corner gave him instructions, how important it was for him to just keep popping that jab. and he was popping a jab, and a couple rounds later, he's getting his foot back, he's getting his self back together, and then he gets caught again and again and again, and he was getting caught like throughout the fight, and not in a way where he had to take an 8 count, but in a way that was not comfortable. Now, it wasn't comfortable if you had a bet on Regis Prograis, you would have been like biting your nails all the way through. It didn't look good for him going into the latter rounds. And quite honestly, I thought Jojo Diaz would have taken him out. But he wasn't. In the times when Jojo Diaz had Prograis hurt, and there were lulls in Prograis' combinations, and he was trying to catch his breath, Jojo Diaz just didn't have enough to get it off. And on top of that, I felt that Jojo Diaz was not able to throw combination punching. So a lot of the punishment that he sustained in the fight, Harold, was covering up and waiting until after Prograis finished. But then Prograis was not there, right? So, he just ate so many shots. And then when he did get to the right spot, Harold, when Jojo Diaz got to the spot where he knew he could do the damage, he just didn't throw enough in those moments. He needed to put the combinations together a little bit more, And
there was a cut to add to the theatric part of it.
2 of them. Harold, there were 2 cuts. He started out with the 1 cut above the I believe it was the left eye, above the left eye. And then as the fight went on, it ended up being 2 cuts. And you want to hear something so funny, Harold? I don't know if you picked this up, because I know you scanned through the tape, but there was a time where the doctor, after the first cut, he comes back to the corner, and I mean, Harold, he was completely covered in blood. His whole face, it was a Badu Jack look, right? He had a Badu Jack face makeover, right? And so he comes back to the corner, and when he gets there, they clean him up. They stitch him up pretty good, or patch him up, hit him with some adrenaline, and then he gets up. They stop, they call a time, and then look at the cut, and the doctor says, "Hey, okay, how many fingers do I have up?" He puts his hand to the corner of where the cut is and where his eye is, and he says, "How many fingers I have up?" And the doctor's holding up 1 finger, and Jojo Diaz says 2, and then he comes back and he goes, "Okay, come back again. How many fingers do I have up?" And the doctor had 2 up, and he goes 1. and the doctor was like, "He's good, let him go." I'm like,
that's pretty good.
Why even ask? Why would you even ask a fighter how many fingers you got up if it doesn't mean anything? If you're not going to stop the fight because he gives you the wrong answer, and you let him continue to fight. It was hysterical. I was like, what the heck?
No way would he's going to be responsible for stopping that great fight. That wasn't going to happen. So, he did what he's supposed to do. And even if he got the answer wrong, he could still see the finger. So, he wasn't going to stop that fight. Now, Mark, you're a cut man, excellent cut man. Okay. So what did you see they used? They used what you used? Did you see the technique? How did they close it? Because he went the whole distance, and it was less bloody. They was able to clean up after every round. So what did they do, Mark?
I mean, they patched him up. They gave him adrenaline. They closed it up a little bit. They gave him some grease, and I don't think they did. I think they could have done a better job. I think that there were a couple of rounds where he was bleeding quite a bit. And before, you only have a minute, right? You only have a minute. And if it takes you 5 seconds, 10 seconds to get into the ring, right? Even if it's 15 seconds to get into the ring, 10 to 15 seconds to get out of the ring, right? I mean, and you're hitting somebody with an adrenaline, but you don't do it until like toward the end. You got to get that medicine on the cut right away. And unfortunately, they didn't do that. And so I just felt like it kept leaking, it kept bleeding, and they didn't quite, I'm not sure if he had, you know, what was going on with the it's hard to say. I don't know if he had a broken blood vessel or something. Never know what happens when you're split like that. So, I mean, they did the best they could. They kept. Hey, listen.
It went
The
to
job
the
of
end.
the job of a cut man is to keep the fighter in the fight,
And that
and
happened.
they did that. They kept the fighter in the fight. I just felt that there were and whoever did the cuts, I think it was the chief second was actually doing the cut. And, I think there was some time where he was giving him some coaching and some instructions, and he got lost. He's given the instructions and he realized he had the medicine in his hand, and then he hit it after he gave the instructions. And unfortunately, the longer you wait, the harder it is for you to be able to get that cut completely restricted and stopped. So I think that I was kind of taking a look at that throughout the fight. But yeah, they kept him in. They did a good job, and he completed the 12 rounds. So you can't ask any more. You can't ask anything more than that. I mean, the only other thing is if he would have won the fight. If he would have won the fight, it would have been phenomenal. If he came up, I mean, Prograis edged out that fight. I mean, the scores. I don't think the score, like, I don't know. I like one of the judges had it 98-92. I didn't see 98-92. I didn't see that. I saw 96-94. Okay, 96-94. I could accept that. But 92-98, I just didn't see that. I think that Jojo Diaz did way more. And again, this is I mean, you would be a better person to ask, Harold, because when it comes to judging, like this was a classic,
Yeah, that was a tough one.
Yeah, because I'm throwing all this heat on you. I'm hitting you peppering you with the jab, peppering you with combinations, short little pitty pat combinations. Meanwhile, Jojo Diaz is digging and he's touching that body and he's ripping the hooks and he's doing more damage, even though Jojo Diaz looked like he had been run through a meat grinder, in terms of how he was looking. And I wonder if that played into some of the judging about, in some of the rounds, because some of those rounds you could have given to either one of the fighters. There were 3 or 4 rounds where I could have, gone either way. And, when I'm watching the fights, I usually am not trying to score, Harold. I'm just enjoying them and really being a spectator. Rather than trying to just sit down with my pen and paper and just, score each round and then tally it up. And I'm not really doing that when I'm watching the fight. So it's very difficult to score a fight unless you're hyper focused on scoring the fight and what the criteria is, right? You can't, that's why it's difficult and I've said this before on the broadcast, it's very difficult for, the general public to score a bout, because even though you see what you see, it doesn't mean that that's the criteria, right? You have to know what the criteria is in order to know how to score it,
Yeah, that being my avenue of expertise, I would like to think so. You've got to believe in yourself. I believe that that was a really hard fight to judge, and I'm glad I did not have to do it, because when I only watched like 5 rounds of it, back and forth, what have you, and I was like, wow, that's really tight, because some judges, they're going to look for the scoring area, whether it has power or not. And some judges are going to look for if you get hit, your body rocks, and they're going to score that above in the scoring area. So you have to decide what round you're going to apply that, or you're going to take the stance of the rocking the body is going to be prevalent in your judging or in the scoring area. So a judge has to decide from round one which way he's going to go, because you can't flip back and forth. You can't tell a girl she's pretty, the next minute you says she's ugly. You can't do that. You got to stick with one. So in this opinion, so I enjoyed it. I'm going to go back and watch it after I get off this podcast, but I don't have to judge it. Now, the one that I had a problem that was really hard to judge was the one coming up here that we're getting ready to talk about, and that was Duarte and Sims. That was a hard fight to judge. Let me tell you. And I couldn't help but judge it in my mind because it was just, the challenge was just in my face, and I had to do it. Yeah. And that was a great fight. And that should be training material for judges. That should be training material for the fans to understand what, it really takes to judge a fight. So, Mark, what do you think about that fight? That was something else. It was less exciting, but it was so technical, and the game plans had to be adhered to perfectly.
It was, to me, it was equally as exciting. I just think there was less drama in the fight. Like there wasn't any like massive cuts or, any overwhelming adversity in the fight that, other than like, well, I shouldn't say that, but these guys went at it, and it was a classic, puncher against a boxer, and it was an impeccable fight. I mean, I enjoyed that fight so much, and I was so impressed with Oscar Duarte and his ability to just drive to the target, just drive into the target and stay right in Sims's face the entire fight. Like he did. I did not find one round where Oscar Duarte was going backward. Not one round did he go backward. And I thought, he put on an amazing fight, and he's now put, Oscar Duarte's put himself into title contention, where he might get a title shot, And
conversely, I've got to say, conversely, he fought well off the ropes, though. Sims fought well off the ropes. He moved well. He knocked him off his dime a couple of times. Yes, he was coming forward, but he knocked him off his dime a couple of times and moved the fight into the center of the ring. That was impressive. Go ahead.
I don't disagree with you at all. I think this was a definite barn burner. It was back and forth. Two highly skilled fighters, both of them highly skilled, fighting and using all their tools. Yeah, I mean, we talk about the telephone, keeping your hand up for your telephone, and I'll tell you, Sims was expert at catching a lot of Oscar Duarte's hooks, because those hooks were coming in, man, and at any time that any one of those hooks could have put him to sleep, And there were a couple of times in the fight where Oscar Duarte had Sims up against the ropes, and it wasn't a pretty look, and I think some of those moments cost Sims the fight. I mean, he didn't have quite as much power as he needed to keep Duarte off of him. That was the story of the fight, and they knew it. They knew they could just keep coming and coming and coming, because there wasn't any power. The power wasn't enough to do damage to Duarte.
And it wasn't placed properly. If he went to the body, because that's where he got to Duarte to move a little bit, to get out the way, and pay attention to him. But he stopped going to the body. He stayed a headhunter, and the punches that showed that he had an opportunity, to stay in the fight or do whatever, he abandoned them.
Yeah, well, in this particular fight, bro, the scores were all, Harold. The scores were they were off all over the place. One judge had it 114 to 114 as a draw, which I could see. Another judge had it 116 to 112.
Could you see that?
Not really. I mean, I think 115 to 113 was the right score. But I wasn't scoring it, but I can just tell you that the fight from the beginning to the end was, they were it was just like neck and neck. These guys were going back and forth. And Duarte has a really, really good piston jab. Like one of these hard snapping it's kind of like a power jab, just like straight in. Boom, boom, boom. And it really gave Sims a lot, Kenneth Sims a lot to think about in the fight. And in many spots, Sims showed tremendous skill on some of the combinations that he was throwing. Duarte was right up in his face, and he'd throw a 3-punch combination and roll off, pivot off, land a body shot, pivot off, come back to the jab, have Oscar Duarte walking right into shots. So this guy is a skillful fighter. I mean, there's going to be a lot more for Kenneth Sims coming down the road, but no doubt. At least that's
he was
hope.
in Chicago, which was a great place, right? They hadn't had many fights in Chicago.
Yeah.
It was interesting to see him there. The crowd was hurt that he had lost, but I want to see him again. I want to see that counter-punching style that he has.
Yeah.
That moving off that. He was catching with some nice hooks, nice combinations inside. I'm not saying it was like Stevenson, Shakur, but what it was I enjoyed his work. He didn't win enough rounds, but he did offer entertainment, as you said.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was a very entertaining fight. Both of those bouts were incredibly entertaining last night. Hats off to Golden Boy for putting on a great night of boxing. And and I think that Duarte is now mandatory for Gary Antoine Russell, right?
Yes, and he was a beast in his last fight, Mark. You commented on that earlier. You was like, "Oh my gosh, what happened? What switch was flipped on this guy?"
Yeah.
And if he has that same kind of attitude, he's running through people. So that would be a good fight as well.
Oof, that's gonna be a very similar fight to the fight that just happened with Kenneth Sims. It will be a very, very similar stylistically. But I think Gary Russell may have a little bit more tricks, tools in his toolbox. So that should be very, very interesting fight for us to look forward to, and for the listeners to look forward to for sure.
Well, you need to make that. Make your calls, Mark. Make it happen. Make it happen.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, Harold, listen.
Like you don't know all those guys. Don't trip. Fans, don't trip. He knows Bob and all those guys. So it's not like he can't at least get in a conversation with them and fill them out. So you're don't kind. Be modest, Harold, Mark.
You're Harold. You're kind, Harold. You filleth my cuppeth all the days. Well, if you've been tuning in on Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcasts, thank you for being with us on the Boxing Breakdown. And don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. You can watch us live on YouTube, and make sure you hit the notifications and the like button or whatever you got to do there. Get the little bell so every time our podcast comes on and we go live, you're right there with us.
You are there.
That's right. Same thing on Facebook. Same thing on Instagram. Wherever you find us at the Boxing Breakdown. And Harold, it's been a joy.
Always.
It's always a pleasure to chop it up with you. And we have quite a library of amazing coverage over the years. And I hope that the Zone and these folks, the folks in Riyadh, are going to give us a call and invite us to be part of their extravaganza. so that we can break down just two dudes who love boxing, chopping it up on a Sunday night, bringing it to you so that we can all enjoy some boxing talk. Peace and love, and until next episode, on behalf of Harold Hunt, I'm Mark Roxy. This is the Boxing Breakdown, and we are out. Thank you.